Now, going to our grandfather and late grandmother's family, Auntie Doreen was the first, and Russell, who was our eldest cousin, passed away sadly a number of years ago, and Adrian, his daughter, who's slightly older than me, she's the oldest one now, and me, she's at Kerry, and she sent apologies for today because she's got a house full of their family at the moment. And then after Dad was Auntie Day, who's Brent and Barry's parents.
Yeah.
And then there was Auntie Ella, who never married, but was absolutely a brilliant woman in her field. During World War II, she was the personal secretary to Admiral Chester Nimitz, who was the Admiral of the Pacific Fleet. And from there she went to honorific positions, including being personal secretary to our ambassador in Washington, and then on to other great positions in Bermuda and in Canada. And she came back with Auntie Day to have a lunch with us about this time of year at Arkles Bay in our old house, and I begged her to come back in her retirement and stay here, and I said, I can move this house over to my new section and it's yours. And she explained that her life was so much involved in the social and the artistic life in Washington DC that she thanked me but couldn't come. And then there was Uncle Norm, who was a brilliant man in World War II, captured in the desert and served in the rest of the war in a prison camp, during which he was promoted from lieutenant to captain and became a highly successful person in the insurance business. And his daughter Gillian, who were able to have a little Zoom with her today, now lives in Sydney. And finally Uncle Jack, the youngest of the family, with a large number of youngsters, and Ian and Val. Ian and I were on the phone yesterday, the day before actually, Christmas Eve, and he sent his love to all of us here today. So we come from a family that was a very together group of people. They were very supportive of one another. We had lots of holiday times together with our cousins, and lots of humorous things happened over the years, which I won't go into now, but it was always a great lot of fun having times, and going to Uncle Dad and Auntie Day's place at St Heliers was always a great time, and they used to come to visit us at Avondale. And then Mum and Dad, how do I describe Dad adequately? He was a multi-skilled, multi-talented person. He was a very brilliant educator, not just a teacher or a headmaster, but an educator in the broad sense of the term. And he taught me briefly in Form 1. I never had such a great teacher in my life. And he was a brilliant sportsman. Now, when he was still single, he was a professional athlete. He used to go to minor sports all around the Waikato area and win the 100 yards, 220, 440 and the long jump and get paid for it. And then when he got selected for the Waikato rugby team in 1929, he had to give all that away because it was an amateur sport. But when I knew him, he played golf off a 6 handicap. He was number 1 or number 2 on the tennis ladder wherever he went. And he was an absolutely gun-lawn bowler. So he was what we call the all-round person. And our mother, Cynthia, was a brilliant musician, a brilliant cook, and when we lived in Ohura, we had a house cow, and my job was to turn the separator to make the cream, and she used to make butter out of the cream and all sorts of goodies and stuff like that. And she taught singing, and she taught the piano. So we always had a lovely piano at home, hence my move on the instrument in due course. So us, all of us who are related to the Wilcoxes have a lot in common. Now, I've also got to acknowledge Mike and Judy Lambert, because on my mother's side, she was a Lambert, and her parents were Papa Leslie and Nana Dora Lambert, both brilliant musicians, absolutely brilliant musicians. Papa was a cellist, a conductor, a choir master. Nana was a contralto who played all Beethoven's sonatas on the piano from memory. And I now have, in her will, I have their grand piano at home at Arkles Bay. And the next person from me will be my Mokapuna Lilia, who's a good pianist, and will keep it in the family. So what we're saying, here we're standing here today, we have a lot to acknowledge as to where we've come from. Exactly. And to support, give acknowledgement to those great people. Yeah. Finally, to me, young fellow there over there, and over there, we had great times on our yachting with the Fleet Wing. We were a devastating crew. We never lost a race. We never lost a race. Only one where the race was abandoned, where we got dismasted and sunk, actually. And all the other boats in the race had their masts, their sails torn and everything, so the race was abandoned. But every other race we lost, we won. So in our younger times, in our early 20s, we had a great time, brothers on the yacht, and
we had some wonderful crew guys.
Yeah, Hugh
Calder.
Yeah, and
Algie.
Don Algie. Yeah, great guys.
Yeah.
Five of us on an 18-foot boat. And it meant, particularly after you had a few beers, that a couple of guys had to sleep ashore.
The cruise of the Fleet Wing
inside the cabin was getting a bit tough.
The cruise of the Fleet Wing to Russell was a highlight of my life.
Yeah, yeah.
All the way to Russell.
Yes.
Yeah, we sailed up to Russell. Yeah.
Wow.
And there was one of the big boats, the A-class kiddo, the Kahurangi, which we spotted ahead of us. So we said, he's only going very slowly. Let's put up a spinnaker. So we raced past the Kahurangi. And when we got into the bar at Russell, the guy came up to us and said, "You guys are totally irresponsible. You shouldn't be up here in the boat of that size." And I said, "But we're faster than you are."
18 footer to Russell.
Oh. So, greetings to all of you. It's lovely having been part of this wonderful gathering today. And I'm hoping that the goodwill that we expressing to each other, we can transfer to the New Zealand cricketers who are on day 2 of the first test. So, we now have there.
Right.